If anyone else wants to join in, that'll be great. You'll see them, show up on your screen there. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen so you can see my presentation. Okay.
Okay.
Flip over to that. All right. Do you see this presentation says listing presentations?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
perfect. All right, let me put that up into the slideshow. So what we're going to cover today is how to kind of create your own listing and buyer presentations, which
Mhm.
really essentially your marketing piece, your item of value that you would leave behind with a potential seller or buyer when you meet them. Okay. I'll go over what I think is the key elements of it, and then I'll actually show you some examples that we have available to us. Okay. So
Okay.
the key elements of a listing presentation should be the following: your objective. What is your objective as a listing agent? What's your goal to help sellers? The about you. What is your value as a listing agent? How long have you been in business? How many deals have you done? Now, being someone new,
Mhm.
I encourage you to kind of use the brand in your favor here. So when you would come into about you, you could talk about what you've done before you got into real estate, and then
Right.
you could just kind of flow into, I've aligned myself with the Remax brand to better serve, sellers in a market like today. In the last month in your neighborhood, Remax has sold over, 200 houses. So feel free to use the data that's available to you
Okay.
as representation. Absolutely.
All right.
Um, the
Great.
process, you want to explain the selling process to sellers. I mean, sellers decide they need to move or have to move. They don't necessarily know the very next steps. So you want to be able to familiarize them with the next steps in the process.
Okay.
Then, kind of talk about the house. What will sell this house? Maybe it's a very unique property, like an old farmhouse on 10 acres. That's going to take a little different approach to sell it than, a 4 bedroom, 2 bath in the middle of a, suburban neighborhood. So
Yeah.
you want to learn about the house and be able to say what's going to get sold. Then you want to talk about services. And in that, we're going to talk about some mutual expectations, what the seller can expect from you and what you want to expect from the seller, and that they should know that. And then your results, that's kind of like your testimonials or your stats. So some people put up some testimonials, some people put up their results, especially if they're very strong in that neighborhood or have had several sales, then they would cite those. One thing to get started as a new agent, you can always ask like Chris to give you a testimonial or a review, Chris Beersford, or even Karen. Terry Harkey would too. And
Mhm.
it can just talk about your overall, she's Hannah's a very trustworthy person, always, friendly and helpful whenever I reached out to her. So anything like that. It doesn't have to say that you sold 10 houses in the last week. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Feel free to try to get some things under your belt that way.
Right.
So let's break that down. So when it comes to objective, what is your objective as a listing agent? Well, obviously, it's to sell the house in the shortest amount of time at the highest price, and of course, with the best terms. So you kind of want to use your goals, your plans, your strategies. That GPS we'll get more into when you're kind of building your business. You'll hear that phrase often. What is your GPS in the business? And you want to be able to do more for sellers from for sale to sold. That was actually one of Remax's national ad campaigns last year, that
Mhm.
Remax agents do more from for sale to sold than any other agent. Okay. So you want to make sure you live up to that and set
Yeah.
that standard for sellers up front.
Yeah.
So an example of your GPS, the goal, of course, would be to sell the house in the next 30 days, maybe. Maybe they've got to move. Okay. What would
Yeah.
the plan be then to? It would be to price the home at the most aggressive price to bring the best offer quickly. Okay.
Mhm.
And then strategies, how are you going to do that? With staging and marketing. Okay. Because the house is going to sell, but we're going to make sure it's staged to show its best and that it's marketed so that everybody knows about it.
Okay.
When it comes to about you, what is your value as a listing agent? Well, first of all, you've aligned yourself with a powerful brokerage. Use the power of the brand and your expertise as an agent. So, like I said, pull those numbers from Remax and be able to, put them in front of you. Okay. And with the most up to date industry exceeding standards, Remax marketing will set the brokerage apart from any other. So, know what resources you have. We have our contact management, which is our Booge system. It formerly was Lead Street. I keep that in there because some people don't realize the connection. The
Mhm.
marketing Design Center, and I'll introduce you to that. And then, of course, our information systems, which is all across Mac Center. And so, what is your mission statement? You are running a business. You should have a vision and a mission. You should know it, say it, and do it. So, if you don't have your vision or mission statements yet, you might want to write those down and kind of brainstorm about that. You want to get your elevator speech together too. When people say, "Oh, you're a real estate agent," that's a very cliche, generic term.
Yeah. Yeah.
So make sure you know what you want to say. For example, mine is, I'm a professional, honest real estate agent bringing buyers and sellers and other agents together in successful transactions every day. So short and sweet. So, and sound confident in that.
Yeah, you sound very confident.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Then we want to talk about the process. So explaining the selling process to sellers makes them informed, and they'll want to partner with you because of your knowledge and experience. Okay. Prepare some pre-listing repairs and or staging. So when you sit down with the seller, and we have a class called the listing conversion. It was actually offered last week, but it will come back around in a couple of weeks. And that actually breaks it down about what you should do on a listing appointment and how to convert that seller to list with you. But one of those things is the repairs and the staging. You certainly don't want to nitpick any of all of their house, but when you're sitting down with someone, you want to be able to say, is there anything that you've been kind of putting off to fix that you really know needs to be done? Let's go ahead and get that done. Maybe it's a broken window. They say, well, we never open it, so we just leave it shut. Well, let's get that open. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell them about the photography and the signs and the lock boxes that all go along with the process. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm sorry, 1 second.
No, you're totally good. Don't feel bad at all.
Thank you. That was the 2-year-old wanting to take everything off the printer and hand it to me.
Oh.
That's very helpful.
My new friend, Lee.
Hi. Photography, signs, and lock boxes. You want to be able to tell them that you're going to have a professional come in and take pictures. You, of course, can be your professional yourself. If you have any desire or passion about photography, don't be afraid to be that one that takes the pictures of the houses.
Okay.
Or that you don't do it with your cell phone, but everybody has their equipment. Signs and lock boxes. If you're representing a seller in a very I don't want to say exclusive, but in an HOA, they might have requirements about what kinds of signs you can put in the yard. So let those sellers know that you're going to take care of that. You're going to reach out to the HOA, make sure that your sign meets the standards for their neighborhood.
Okay.
Same thing with lock boxes. Explain to the sellers that they're going to have a lock box on their door. It's going to have a key in it that's accessible to any other licensed real estate agent. Okay.
Okay.
Talk about showings and feedback. People are going to come see their house, and it's going to be with another agent. And then we're going to ask for feedback. We're going to reach out as our listing agent and say, hey, how'd that showing go? Do your buyers have any concerns or, questions? What can I do to get an offer on the table? Open houses. Some sellers are really opposed to an open house. They don't want people walking through their house, especially right now. So open houses don't have to be done. It's not mandatory at all. But you might want to do something I've seen agents do in today's world is do a virtual open house where you're actually walking through the house, it could be your phone or anything else, and kind of just giving a tour. It might take you 30, 45 minutes, but just as if you had somebody right there next to you, do that way. So ask your sellers or tell them that you have the option to do a virtual open house so that then at least they're still getting you exposed.
Right.
Offers and counter offers. Let them know that you're going to be with them every step of the way. When an offer comes in, you break down the numbers and the contingencies in that offer and be able to advise them on countering any offer. Also the contract timeline. Sellers think maybe sometimes once they get an offer, that's it. Let me know when I'm going to close. No. There's a lot of things that have to spell out in that contract that sellers are responsible for just as much as buyers. So you want to make sure you understand the contract yourself as well. So you have that fluency of telling them about the timeline in those contracts, and then go on to closing. Of course, once they've got closed, what happens next? What's their next move? I mean, that's one thing. There is so many income avenues available in real estate, especially as a licensed agent. Don't cut yourself short. So a seller can become a buyer. So make sure you know what their next move is.
Mm-hmm.
The house, like I said, what will sell this house? Have a conversation about why the sellers bought the house and what value it does have in today's market. Because it's going to take a buyer similar to that current seller that's going to buy that house. Was it the neighborhood? Was it the school district? What are the community amenities that are available? What are the updates or upgrades in their house? And any potential or uniqueness about the house. And that, I don't want to use the word challenge, so I use the word uniqueness so that they don't get scared by thinking it's going to be a tough job to sell their house. And then your services, you want to establish some mutual expectations. You have services that you provide and the seller can expect. And in the process, what do you need from the seller? And then don't forget that marketing plan. How are you going to get the house sold? There are marketing tools in Remax that are created just for listings. So to break it down, explain to the seller what your role is. It's to market the home, it's to get the offers and close the transaction. The seller's role is to be show ready, to be loyal to you and the process, and to get on to their next move. And the marketing plan should be on the spot. It needs to have something at the house. You need to have an online presence, and you need to be within the industry. So reach out to other avenues that we have as far as to market, like through the client portals or through the MLS. You want to be able to access as well. The results, again, what's already happened is proven. So have past clients tell future clients how smooth you made the transaction, or like I said, people that you already know in the business. Is it your first transaction? Then provide testimonials of how Remax agents outperform. The data's been recorded and it's available, so make sure you share it. And where do you go from here? In the conclusion of your presentation, you want to ask the seller if they have any questions or comments. You want to listen, repeat what they said and asked, and then answer it. And then you want to lead them on to the next step. Maybe it's reviewing the listing agreement. Maybe it's signing it. Maybe they're ready to go with you then. But whatever you do, do what you said you would do. Okay. Some of the resources we have available to us, and I'm going to jump onto those next, would be Design Center, where we have print and digital. milesandchris.com. They also have templates available for a listing presentation. And then pick one that appeals to you, that you'd be most comfortable presenting and discussing, so that you can do it without looking at it. Okay. Let me jump over here onto, I signed into Max Center. It's going to be a new share. So let me stop that. All right. Can you see my Zoom window?
Yes.
Okay. So I signed on to Max Center. That's where you sign on with your Remax address and the password you've created there. And once I'm in the Max Center, I want to go to Design Center. Now, I need to tell you that Design Center is kind of going away. It's becoming Megaphone, which is also an application that was available on the Max Center screen here, right here, Megaphone. But we still have about 30 days left in Design Center. So I'm going to start here. Okay, so you at least see where the material is. Once you're in Design Center, you want to go into projects. We're going to create a new project, and it's going to be a presentation. When you click on presentation, it's going to open up a few more tabs for you to go through right here. We want to make sure we've got presentation chosen. The task would be seller. So we want to gear our presentation towards sellers. The brand, if you're doing a luxury property, that would fall under Remax Collection. Now, the price point differs depending on the area that you're in, but generally in this Southern Ohio area, about anything over $500,000. Okay, so Remax Collection or the luxury line would be over $500,000, but I'm going to keep it at just Remax.
Okay, you said over 500 or 600?
I'm sorry? Yeah, 500,000 in Cincinnati.
Okay. Okay.
And you can find those values up on Max Center under the resources. You can just search Remax Collection and it will give you a map of where they start at. Because obviously in a higher price demographic area, something entry level in that market could be 500,000, so then their collection price would be much higher. So,
right.
Okay, so as we can see, there are two presentations that are available here. And they're both digital. So when they look like a little screen, screenshot, that means it's a digital presentation. When you click on that presentation, you want to go ahead and select that design. And I'm just going to show you how it walks through the steps here. It's going to ask you, of course, to name it. We're going to say listing presentation. Digital, just so I make notes for myself. If you already have a current listing that you want to work off of, you can choose it from the folder in here, but I'm just going to keep it under marketing materials. We'll save and continue that. Next, it's going to ask you to drop in some photos, and it's actually going to drop these photos in on the different slides. So if you need to view the layout of the slide, you can click on that. I don't want that one. There we go. So then I can see where it's going to go. So there's going to be 6 different areas: the objective, the about, the process, your home, services, and the results. And then the pictures are going to flip into each one of those stages. So with that being said, I know that view 1 would be the objectives photo, which was the chest piece earlier. When you click on add photo, it's going to give you the option to pull it from your computer if you've got a picture on the computer you want to use, or you can use what we say stock photos. Stock photos, there's over 400 pictures that have been uploaded for you to use through the RE/MAX site. So you can go ahead and choose something of the architecture type. Maybe you want to do a home exterior, just pull out a house. Here's a sold sign. That would be good on the objective. We can drop that one in. You want to go ahead and add in your agent photo here. That would be something you'd upload from your computer. You can choose that here. Oops. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to grab a picture from it really quick.
Oh, here we go.
There we go. So we got another picture in there.
Okay.
And then you're just going to go through and pick those out. Now, when it comes down to the next ones, I
said, look at the picture. That's good.
Oh, thanks. That's my power shot.
It looks like a power shot.
Right. On the next few titles here, besides the team member, so if you have somebody else working with you, you'd add their photos in here too. Then we want to get into the slide that talks about the steps for success for sale. So maybe you want to just add another stock photo in there of maybe, you know, a house without the sold sign. So we'll say, maybe we'll just say events. Let's see, we'll just go with the balloons just to add something in there. Once you've got your pictures populated, you're going to hit save and continue. You can put a property address in here if you're going to maybe a specific appointment, but if you want to create something that you can have on hand to send out, so kind of a more of a universal thing, you could just put your current home.
Okay. And this is something that you would like, you know, if people were still going into each other's houses often, like you would take this with your computer and you talk about
play it for them. Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Absolutely. You could even send it to them ahead of time too. And just say, you know, I know your time is valuable. I'm going to send you a digital listing presentation I prepared, and we can talk about it when I get there. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to enter this latitude and longitude. Again, they're trying to put this out, you know, for everybody in RE/MAX to use. And there are some properties that that's more applicable to. So, disclaimers, anytime you see a disclaimer clause throughout anything that you do, any print media that you do, there's always going to be a little like scroll button over here to give you some stock phrases to use. Okay. So you're going to say, I want disclaimers only. And these are all the different disclaimers that are approved by the, you know, different divisions, whatever state you're in, for you to use on any of your material. In Ohio, we generally use this one: all information believed to be accurate, but not guaranteed. Because a lot of the information we're pulling from is from the MLS. We want to, you know, cite that as a source as accurate, but we're not guaranteeing that. So that's the most used one here in Ohio. So all information believed to be accurate, but not guaranteed.
Okay.
Here you want to enter what your goals and objectives are. We're going to say sell fast.
Kimber.
Sell high. And sell for you.
Thank you, bye. So fast. Hi. Okay.
No problem. So as I said, I'm just writing in some quick notes here. So on the objective slide, we'll see, you know, sell fast, sell high, sell for you, which is kind of a generic way of selling. I'm going to sell your house in the shortest amount of time for the highest possible price at the best terms for you. Okay. As you get down through here, and you're gonna, if you have a team headline here, you're gonna put that here. Any other information you want to put about anybody else that you're teaming up with or working with? Next will come the why Remax. This is where you can put in some verbiage, or you can use the verbiage that's already in here, because it's absolutely, on point about the Remax brand. You are going to use extensive brand recognition, which attracts people to your home. You have powerful tools for marketing the home, vast exposure in a local area and beyond. So again, you can use the boilerplate language that's already in here, or you can edit it to something that's more you. Okay, because you want to be able to, I said, like, get through this without looking at it, to tell them about it. When it comes into about talking some comparables, really quick, I would pull up the MLS and maybe see if there's a house or two that has sold on the street, because they're going to want to talk about that. They're going to know that their neighbor sold, last month, and they want to know something about that. So you want to just give them the price, the time on the market, maybe mention whether it was the same size bedroom or same size, bathroom or not. But you don't want to overanalyze that property, because you're talking about the house that you're sitting in. Okay. So those would be I'd only pull two of them. If there was none on their street, at least try to get in their neighborhood, something that they will have seen, driving home. Okay. Because that's the ones they're going to remember. Oh, but so-and-so, somebody on the street over, at the left had a sign in their yard one day and next day it was gone. So be able to kind of find that information out for them. Anything else would be the highlights. This would be, you don't want to get into a CMA with people necessarily when you're going on a listing appointment, but you want to have an idea what that number should be in your head. If they say to you, maybe it's a friend that just says, I like you to come over, we want to sell the house, we're going to use you, then you want to go ahead and pull some comparables. But if it's just a listing appointment that you're going on, you're up against other agents, you want to at least have an idea what's going on in that market. And some of the most valuable information to sellers is not what's actively listed, it's what's already sold or expired, because the expired listings are the ones that didn't sell. And you want to be able to tell the sellers, look, they didn't sell, and let's find out why. Maybe they were priced too high, maybe the condition wasn't enough. So we don't want to be an expired listing. I want you to be a sold listing, and this is what's selling right now. And again, don't bother with the actives, because people can ask whatever they want for their house. But what's sold is what's already being done. Okay. So I try not to put a concrete listing price or suggested listing price on a listing presentation like that. I just say, let's talk when we meet. Let's talk when we meet. On the next view, it's going to be about your services and how you can help them throughout the process. Then it's going to get into some marketing. What do you do to market the property? Well, we'll use the MLS. We'll have some social marketing. We'll have some internet marketing, and then we have some other marketing. And you want to be able to spell out what those things are and what you're going to do for them exactly. In the results, this is that testimonial where I said you're going to put in some testimonials here, some references. You can fill those out. As you get down to save and continue at the bottom there, it's going to take us over to the last page, which has all of your information. Okay. So anything that's kind of grayed out can't be changed. That's in your Remax profile. Anything that's blank or whited out, you can add something in there. Okay. Save and continue. Hey, Emily, I'm sorry, 1 second.
You're good.
I need it brought down like this. All right, we want to go ahead and preview what we've got done here. So I clicked on that preview tab, and it's going to bring up the presentation, and it's going to show where those things that I was populating are going to fill in at. Selling your home is a complex journey with thousands of decisions to be made along the way. Guidance that you can count on is essential. So I left a lot of that boilerplate in there so that would feed through nicely for that.
Yeah.
There's where I stuck in that one first stock photo, the objective. On the next one, that's where I plugged in my photo right here, where it came down here. If you, like I said, if you have anyone, this might even be some place to maybe recommend an inspector. Maybe if they're going to have the house pre-inspected before listing, if that's what you decide to do, or your stager, if there's a stager that you use, or your photographer, grab their picture and put it on here. I mean, make it look like they're getting all of this by working with you.
Right.
As a Remax agent, I can provide, and these are the services. That's why I said you could use that text that's already in there, or you could cater that more towards your own. Same thing with the steps here. This would be that neighborhood, and that's why I said I'd pull out 2 listings that's on their street, or at least very close to them, that would be on their path. This is where we were going to put in that suggested listing price, and I'd say, let's talk when we meet. And it's okay to leave that slide just to be like that. They're already inquisitive. So right. Your services here, how we're going to market the property, and then those testimonials. And when that's done, you have the ability to actually publish this to the web. And what that does is it does publish it and creates its own website for it. But it's a website that's only going to be viewable by someone that clicks on the link. So when I click on publish to web, it's going to generate a link for me to send to my sellers. Okay. And like I said, that's only going to be viewable by somebody that can click on that link. It's not going to show up in a search. If somebody generic was going to run a search for it, it's not going to show up. It's only going to be viewable by the link. Okay. So you don't have to worry about your listing presentation being out on the internet somewhere. And lost forever sometimes. All right. So that's the listing presentation that's available to you. Do you have any questions on that side of it? Because we do have a print one that's available too. When I mentioned in that slideshow about milesandchris.com.
Yeah.
Have you been on milesandchris.com yet?
Yes, I have. But okay. Instead of doing it on your computer, it's just a printable that you give to them,
yes.
I guess?
Yeah. So they do have a printable one on that Miles and Chris. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on that or no? All right, let's jump over to talk about buyers. Okay.
All right.
Now, when we talk about buyers, it's a different kind of presentation because sellers, you've already got an objective, and it's that house, that only that subject property, only that house. When you're talking with buyers, you're going to maybe showing them anywhere from 2 to 50 houses. Okay. So it's really going to be more about your services and your value to them, not about a specific house. All right. So in the introduction here, why do buyers need an agent? To negotiate. Really, that's it. It's to negotiate, because they can go around and look at houses. They can call every listing agent on the sign. They can go to open houses. They can go for sale by owners. But when it comes down to negotiating, they're not going to be able to do that. So what is negotiate? Well, it's to obtain or bring about by discussion. And it's to find a way over or through an obstacle or difficult path. So you really want to show buyers how the power in you is negotiating the best offer for them. So buyers need an agent's expertise and knowledge and experience to navigate the home buying process. From the initial meeting through the pre-approval, through showings, offering, inspections, and on to closing. Let's get equipped with all the resources that you have as a RE/MAX agent to be the reason a buyer works with you. We'll cover material available in Design Center and maintaining communication with prospective buyers through your lead street or your lead generation, which would be like Booge today. What in the about you, when you're putting yourself out to buyers, you're essentially asking them to hire you, just as you do sellers. But buyers want to know what you can do for them. First of all, you've aligned yourself with the power for brokerage, and you want to use the power of the brand and the expertise as an agent. And again, with that most up-to-date industry exceeding standards, the RE/MAX resources will set the brokerage apart from any other. Just as we work with sellers, and we have materials in our Booge sites and in Design Center that are geared towards buyers. So technology has changed the way that agents and buyers are interacting, and your ability to leverage that technology will go a long way in expediting the home buyer journey. Again, you need your business, your mission statement. You're running a business, have a vision and a mission, and know it, say it, and do it. What are your services that you're providing to buyers? Well, first, you're going to establish some mutual expectations like we did with sellers. You want to uncover the buyer's wants versus their needs. They might want something we have a phrase in this industry, buyers tend to have a champagne taste on a beer budget. So They don't
Okay,
want to
yeah.
know that. They don't want to hear that, but it's absolutely what happens. So,
Yep, I get it.
so just know that going in and say,
Yep.
let's really prioritize what is something you want and versus something that you need. And then you want to also determine their buying power. That's a key phrase. What is your buying power? What have they been pre-approved for in comparison to how much they want to spend? Because unfortunately, lenders will say, wow, on paper, you can buy a $350,000 house. And then the buyer looks at that dollar amount and that monthly payment and says, no, I can't. So
I want to do other things in my life.
exactly. I don't want to be house poor as an
Yeah,
expression. So
great.
let's make sure we're working within your parameters. So I always, I'm excited to get a pre-approval letter, but I'm more excited to know what the buyer wants to really be in. And then you do want to confirm their purchase and moving timeline. You might get buyers reach out to you that say, well, I'm in a lease until November. When should I start looking at houses? Well,
Mhm.
honestly, it's not going to be in March because whatever they see in March is not going to be available for them when they want to move closer to November. What you can do, and I do tell buyers this, I am more than happy to show you a house or two right now so you can kind of start to get an idea of what you really do want. Okay. Um, but we're seeing these houses only to get that foundation built. This is not something you can buy right now because you've already said you can't move till November. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Then explaining the process to them. It makes them informed and they'll want to partner with you and your professional knowledge and experience. I do have a sample buyer consultation package that I'll send to you. We do want to talk about, though, the mistakes that buyers will make, and you want to inform your buyer how to avoid them. Overvaluation. Some of them are more than willing to pay more than a house is actually worth. And who determines what a house is worth? Honestly, it's the market. And even though a buyer says, absolutely, we'll pay 10,000 over this price, we've got this step in the process called appraisal, and the appraisal holds very true to the market value.
Mm.
So even though some buyers right now even are paying way over list price, the
Yeah.
appraiser is knocking them back down to reality. So really want to make sure that buyers don't start overvaluing or overvaluing the house. So, and they'll come to you, and they most likely will say, is this a good price for the house? So really, you want to kind of, not that you need to do a CMA on every single property you're showing, but get an idea of what's going on in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay. Home shopping without a mortgage or pre-approval letter. A lot of buyers will say, oh, well, I've already got enough money saved up and my credit's really good. If they've not talked to a lender, you're going to waste their time and, more importantly, your time. So I might show a house to a buyer who doesn't have their pre-approval letter, but don't hesitate to actually say to to a buyer.
Are you okay? I'm sorry.
That's okay. There are actually some listings that will ask that a pre-approval letter be on file before they're confirmed a showing. So you might come across that and you can actually say that to buyers. Say, I'm sorry, the seller's not allowing showings without a pre-approval letter submitted. So, and that's very okay to do that.
Okay, and you said are you saying to always say that if they don't have their pre-approval letter?
Yeah, I'm willing to show a house, like one house to a buyer, but then you can always say, yes, I'm sorry, I can't show it without a pre-approval letter. Sellers aren't allowing showings right now. And
Yeah.
that's holding true more and more today because they don't want, 50 people parading through their house, if they don't have to have it. So there
Right.
are quite a few listings right now that are requiring the pre-approval letter.
Yeah.
You don't want your buyer to overlook a starter home for a more expensive property. When we talked about being house broke, if they're got that letter in their hand that says they can buy up to 350,000, when really a house closer to 300 might be all that they need.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly don't want to not show them what they want to see, but
Yeah.
remind them, hey, let's take a look throughout this range. One thing that's happening today, as I mentioned, about a lot of houses are going over list price, and
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing buyers actually saying, well, I can't bid 10,000 over when I'm shopping at this price range.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then let's shop a little bit lower to where you can bid 10,000 over, and
Yeah.
if the house will still meet your needs, it's going to be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes buyers will not consider a first-time buyer program or other financing options. They think that they went into a Fifth Third Bank where they have their checking account and they got a pre-approval letter, and this is all they need. Tell buyers, just as they're shopping for a house, they really should be shopping for the best loan. And so it's okay to talk to, different mortgage people or different lenders, because some lenders have more programs available than another. I mean, with a first time home buyer, there's grant money. Not every bank has the grant money. There's programs depending on the neighborhood. So the buyer may not really know all that. So once you sit down and talk with the buyer and see kind of what their situation is, open yourself up to other programs that you might be able to help them be directed to. Sometimes buyers are overlooking flaws in a property. And you say, well, what could be a flaw? Well, there are lots of things a buyer may not consider when they walk into a house. They kind of get, blinded by one, being able to buy a house, and then two, actually getting in and seeing houses. So you don't want to be the home inspector. You don't want to be the appraiser when you walk in the house. But if you see something that jumps out at you, you might want to mention it. Maybe it's something as simple as the high tension wires in the backyard. Maybe they didn't even notice that when they pulled up a water tower, if they're going to depend on you to say, what do you think about this house? And you can be honest and say, I think it hasn't sold just yet because it's awfully close to that water tower, or I think it hasn't sold just yet, because the backyard is a swamp when it just rained. So
right, or there's a railroad track next door.
Right. Right. So,
yeah.
And then underestimating closing costs and other out-of-pocket expenses. One thing you definitely need to have in your buyer consultation package is that out-of-pocket expenses. It costs a buyer out of pocket almost $1,500 upfront. That's aside from their down payment, aside from their, money that they think they've set aside. Number one, they've got to pay earnest money, which is varying in amount. It could be zero, it could be $1,000. And that does get deducted from their bottom line, but it's an out-of-pocket upfront expense. So they've got earnest money. Then they've got to pay their application fee to their lender, and that can be a couple $100, even $400 or $500, depending on the lender. And then they're going to have to pay for a home inspection, and that can be another $500. And then finally, they're going to have to pay for their home insurance to even close. Now, a lot of insurance companies will wrap that into their current policy and maybe no upfront down payments needed, but that is an expense that people forget is upfront. So those are the four biggest ones. And if they don't know that, it can be sticker shock to them.
Yeah.
Also, miscalculating the cost of repairs after closing. When they walk into a house and there's wallpaper in the kitchen, and they say, "Oh, well, we can take care of that after we move," and then they've just forked out this $1,000, and suddenly they're going to be living with that wallpaper a little bit longer.
Wallpaper for days.
Right. So it does really help if you kind of open their eyes up to all this, because not every agent's going to do that. So put yourself above the crowd. How can you strengthen your position as a buyer's agent? You want to understand more clearly what's your client's motivation. Are they just tired of living in an apartment? Maybe they're getting married. Maybe they just got a new job here. You also kind of want to reduce the number of showings required, and only because if they're approved up to 200,000 and they're looking for a 4-bedroom, there's only so many 4-bedroom houses under 200,000 that you can show. So really kind of narrow down their motivation, their wants and needs. Assess their knowledge of the market and home ownership. Are they coming off of, mom and dad saying, you got to buy this type of house in this neighborhood and look for this? Or do they really know what they're getting into? If they have children, do they know that, school district is something they should consider, even if their kids aren't in school yet? You want to manage their expectations. So let them really know what the process is going to be. You do want to advise them on some cost saving or financing solutions. One thing might be such as when you're writing an offer, Asking for a seller to pay some concessions, whether it's helping out with closing cost or paying for home warranty, that would cover some of those big ticket items. And you definitely want to be able to find some resources to address any concerns that they have. So don't hesitate to reach directly out to their lender and say, what can I do to help this buyer? And they might say any offer they write, they're going to have to need 5,000 in seller concessions, or, they can only buy in this area because they're using grant money. So connect with the lender and find out how you can better serve that client.
Okay.
And then where do you go from here? We're at the conclusion of your consultation. You want to ask the buyer if they have any questions or concerns. Listen, repeat what they said or ask, and of course, answer it. Set up a time for showings after they've had a chance to review what you send them. And we can use client portals on the MLS, or you can create buyer searches on your Bouge websites even. But lead them onto the next step, maybe by reviewing the purchase contract and explaining what electronic signatures are. A lot of clients will say, oh yeah, if you can send it to me online and I can sign electronically, great. You would not believe how many times I've sent, the 8-page contract and I get it back in like 30 seconds. I'm like, there's no way they read that contract. So make sure you have a conversation with them up front about what the contract is and what they're actually signing. So
actually, yeah, that is so smart.
So, but I get nervous when people send it back really quick, and I have to say to myself, okay, I did talk to them about it. I did tell them about it.
Yeah.
But if you know that you have it and you get it back that quick, you really might want to put the brakes on and backtrack just a little bit. So
you're like, hey, this is what you just signed.
Right. We're all on the same page. Right. All right, so what resources do we have for buyers? Well, we have some buyer prospecting materials on Design Center. We've got our contact management in what is now Bouge. And of course, we have client portals and auto prospecting in the MLS. And I do have an MLS class that I teach. I can send you a recording to that because it covers those client portals. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let me jump back over here. I'm going to stop sharing that. And we'll jump back over to Remax. Okay, so back into the Design Center, if I go back into my projects, I'm going to take a second to load. I'm sorry, let's go into designs. On the design side here, this is where you can pick up, your postcards or any other personal presentation that you want to do or create to get out there to buyers. That's really more of a prospecting standpoint. When it comes down to actually showing houses, there's really no presentation that's needed other than printing out that MLS sheet. And they do have the buyer version of the MLS sheet, the client or the agent version of it. So you want to print out the one that's the client version for the buyers. And that's what you might do on a showing package. I'm sorry. There are also a program that we use called Momentum, and Momentum has tons of product available to you and postcards that you can send out in kind of a, let's see where that Momentum right here, prospecting for buyers. So if you're looking to send some out or have some on hand for you, go through this design really quick. I'm sorry, hold on 1 second here. Where am I? Sorry about that. I had to answer a question. So, all right. So using that Momentum program to prospect for buyers, I just want to really show you this. Let's go back up. I want to show you what the postcard does for you. All right. Let's just view one here. This is pre-scripted, all ready to go, very polished, professional looking postcard that actually talks about the process of the home buying. It's vital that we talk and then talk some more. My priority is to keep you informed throughout the process as your real estate consultant. I will not lose focus and allow things to fall apart once the option period has expired. Instead, I will stay in weekly contact with all parties until the keys to your new home are successfully placed in your hands. So this would be something that we can create digitally and send to buyers kind of as a campaign, to keep them in touch, or you can actually print out as a postcard and have it mailed out to a neighborhood, maybe if you're looking for buyers. Do you have
Yeah.
any deals going on right now for yourself, or
Do I have any what?
any leads or any deals going on?
No, not yet. I have a
Okay.
couple of friends who have said like in the next year I'd love to do something, but I
Okay.
think right now I'm still trying to build up my marketing and learn a couple things, and then I'm gonna really try and put myself out there.
Okay. Well, yeah, definitely. Number one is tell everybody and anybody you know that you're a real estate agent,
Yeah.
and repeat it to them repeatedly. So,
Yes. I've
okay.
heard that multiple times now, so yes.
All right, I'm going to pull up my buyer consultation package just to kind of give you an idea, and I'll email this to you too. You're more than welcome to use it. I don't copyright anything, so feel free to go through here. Our first page is just a nice presentation, a picture of a family, nobody I know. It was just a stock photo I was able to use.
Mhm.
Next page is, a message to you. Kind of talks about a couple of things as you begin your home search. I appreciate the opportunity to help you. Whether it's your first time or maybe you're looking for investment property, I can help. And I want to share with you how I work with my clients to ensure the experience is a pleasurable one. You want to talk about the consumer guide to agency. This is one form that you need to have every buyer sign, and that's a consumer guide. It is not a contract, and that's the first thing I say to them. This is not a contract in any way. This is to protect you. I want you to understand what your relationship is with me and the broker. And it is the law. I mean, a lot of people don't get the consumer guide signed until they have an offer. That's okay, because that's really when the law steps in, but
Right.
you're really making yourself more professional and presentable and confident if you're presenting it up front. Okay. Next page down, we'll discuss as we sit down and talk, financing your new home, how we go about searching for it, what I need from you, how I will protect your interests throughout the negotiations, what to expect from contract to closing, and the continued support you can expect from me and my team afterwards.
Do you have something up on the screen, Lee?
Oh, is it not showing? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Let's see where I was. I forget sometimes I flip around. This is the buyer consultation package here.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
There's that cover page.
Yeah, there's the stock photo.
Right. There's a message, I can help you, whether it's your first home or your 50th, or it's an investment property.
Yeah.
Here's where we talk about the consumer guide to agency and letting them know that it's not a contract. It's designed for their protection, and signing the form does not obligate them to work with you. You're merely letting them know what the relationship definition is. Okay. The Remax difference. How can I help you? Well, I'm going to talk about financing your new home, how we can go about searching for it, what I need from you, how I'll protect your interest throughout, what to expect from contract to close, and the continued support afterwards. When it comes to financing, we're going to confirm that we're searching in the correct price range. We're going to assure the seller that you're not only ready and willing and able to buy, but it's imperative in multiple offers that we know where you can stand. Okay. Your pre-approval letter is at buying power, so come armed to buy. Your home search, how are we going to search for homes? Well, we're going to use the auto prospecting in MLS. I'm going to create a client portal. I got some realtor networking I can do. I've got social networking that we do. We can do direct mail, prospecting for homes. For sale by owners, I can reach out to for sale by owners for you. And we can also talk to builders. This will provide you with all the properties available that fit your criteria. And next, more importantly, this is a partnership. Remember how we discussed the agency and representation? Your financial and negotiating positions could be jeopardized in the following situations if you're not represented. If a buyer goes into a for sale by owner, the for sale by owner does not need to honor you or your relationship with that buyer. Okay, so the buyer needs to let anybody they talk to know that they are represented by you. Seller's not going to know that ahead of time. Open houses. You know, you get a buyer walk into open house, it's fair game. The first question out of your mouth as an agent should be, are you working with an agent right now? And you'd be surprised that buyers either will not give that up, if and no, don't ask, don't tell, or they will say no. And they say no because they think that that agent's not going to tell them everything about the house if they know that they are working with an agent. So what I do is kind of get an idea of any houses that open houses they might be going to, ask to join them. You can go to the open house with them, or give them more than just one business card of yours. Give them 3 or 4 and say, hey, if you do go by an open house, if you wouldn't mind just leaving my card with the agent that's there, I can help you, you know, through the process.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with builder models. A buyer has to register you with a builder, or the builder won't honor paying a commission. So if you do have your buyer who's out looking around and a nice spring Saturday morning, they stop in at, you know, Fisher Homes and say, oh, I just want to look around. Can I see a model? Have this whole conversation, agree to take material from that builder, get on their mailing list, and never once say, oh, I am working with an agent, because believe me, the builder's not going to ask.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to give you a few extra business cards. If you do go in and stop in at a builder, please give them my card so I can help you throughout the process. Okay. And then if they call a listing agent on a for sale sign, that listing agent should automatically be saying, are you currently working with someone? However, they many times do not. So again, you just really need to get the loyalty built between you and your buyer. Okay. So call me.
So is
I
that,
can. Yeah.
yeah. Is that kind of like, so if you met someone at an open house and you haven't signed like a buyer contract,
Mhm.
but you're like wanting to help them, so that you're kind of just saying like this would be a good process for them to start feeling like they're comfortable with you and to come to you.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, if a buyer walks into your open house and you do ask a question and they say no, I'm not working with anyone, you can certainly then offer your services. But for your protection, you need to ask the question up front. There's a saying in the industry: you don't want to jump signs. Okay, so if somebody has an agreement with a buyer, certainly that would supersede anything that you could offer them. But
Right.
maybe they don't have an agreement, but that other agent has shown them a few houses. That
Yeah.
other agent could have already established procuring cause, which is
Right.
also going to cut you out of the deal.
Okay.
So you really need to establish loyalty from the buyer, and you kind of want to do it in the most professional, non-invasive way. You know, you don't want to say to the buyer, I own you, you know, and I want you
Right.
to,
Oh, yeah, no.
yeah,
They'll be like, no.
right.
What are you, so if you said some people will say no, even though they are working with someone.
I've had buyers do that to me. And they said no in the beginning. And then as soon as I said, well, can I send you some more information on other properties available? That's when they've come around and said, well, I do have somebody I've talked to already, or I have somebody sending me those properties.
Okay.
Um, you, Again, you can ask them if they signed anything. If they haven't signed anything, then you absolutely could go forward on that. But you'll learn longer in the business that you need to say, well, is there anything that I could do differently that your agent's not doing right now that might help you better? I mean, you can certainly offer services in that way if they've not signed anything with that agent.
Okay. So you just kind of offer a couple more things to see if that's really the truth, what they
Right.
just said, and then you know where to
Right.
go from there.
Right.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. And then letting them know what you need from them. In order to know that we're on the right track, and I'm showing the houses that meet your needs, I need honest feedback. Let me know how you're feeling. Communication, if your needs or desires change, tell me. I really need both of you to be here if it's a husband and a wife, you know, when we're on showing appointments. Otherwise, you're going to be running back and forth showing that house 3 or 4 times. So try to get them together. Granted, everyone's work schedules are different. Maybe wife can come see it at lunchtime and husband can't see it till evening. You know,
Right.
see what you can work out, but try to have at least every decision maker see the property. Okay. The loyalty to this partnership, a commitment to work only with me, and that when you do find the perfect home, you'll buy it. I mean, there is that expression in the industry too, you know, there's tire kickers, meaning they keep wanting to see houses, they keep saying how much they like the house, but they just won't pull the trigger. Sometimes you need to have a sit down conversation, say, what's stopping you from writing? So,
Yeah. Are you actually ready
Right.
for this?
This is fun and all, but I kind of need to work.
Yeah, right.
Finding the perfect home. What is the process? Well, we write an offer. We got to go through inspections. We got to get our commitment with our financing. Then we can close. And then I'll work with you forever and anybody else that you know. Here's that out-of-pocket expense sheet that we talked about. Make sure this is definitely, even if you only print out one page from this package, make sure it's this one. So,
Yeah.
mm-mm. And then getting on to let's get started. Now that you've had this kind of consultation with them, you want to demonstrate hopefully you've demonstrated your value in assisting them, and that your goal is to make the process fun and stress-free as best as you can, and that you're certainly ready to go to work for them, and let's get started. And that kind of wraps up that, very short and to the point, because every buyer is going to have a different situation. Every transaction is going to be a different transaction, but the basics are still the same. So that's what you want to get out to buyers. Okay.
And did you say this is something that you made, kind of like the other PowerPoint as
Yes.
well?
Mhm.
Okay.
And
And this,
I'll share that with you so you can use it however you'd like.
oh, okay. Would I need to like change the verbiage? I thought you said something about it, but
I said you don't have to. I said I
oh,
don't copyright anything, and you're welcome. Just put your name on this and send it out.
okay.
I'm okay with that.
Well,
So.
thank you.
But I mean, definitely read through here,
Right.
know it, and then of course
Yes.
do it. So, all right.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, this is kind of like a study guide. Like, I have to know in and out what I'm talking about. So
Right.
I show it because you can tell. We've had some presentations where people come in with the PowerPoint and they say stuff, but then when we ask them questions, they don't. I can tell like they don't really have the answer. They're just giving like what someone told them.
Textbook,
So
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, other than that, I'm ready to wrap up with you. And like I said, I'll send you a recording of this so you can always watch it again and refer back to something. And I'll send you this handout as well. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me today, Hannah. It was good to meet you, and I hope to see you in the office sometime.
I know. Thanks, Lee. It
You're
was a
welcome.
great informational meeting.
Awesome. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Bye.